Today I want to cover a topic that I think is misunderstood. The Back to Eden gardening method, where you coat the ground in wood chips and plant a garden, is much more than just taking wood chips and tossing them on the ground. There are some key points that really weren't addressed in the documentary, but I do have to say the Back to Eden documentary is fantastic. I'm going to link that in the description. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you watch it. It's a really good introduction into Paul Gauci. And it just so happens that Paul Gauci is one of two gardeners that I really pay attention to, the other being Jim Kowaleski. So I'm going to try my best to clear up some of the confusion that people have. I'm also going to give you guys some links to some really good resources when it comes to Back to Eden gardening. Paul does not have a YouTube channel, but L2 Survive has a lot of videos that feature Paul. And all those videos really break down some of the details that you don't get in the documentary. I'm going to jump right into this with some words of caution. I gotta say this because on a lot of gardening pages, you're going to get the advice to just take wood chips, toss them on your garden. Because that's all Back to Eden is, right? Just tossing wood chips on the ground and next thing you know, you got a beautiful vegetable garden. I'm telling you right now, don't do that. If you just throw wood chips on top of your soil, you're going to have a bad time. You might even be one of those people who makes a YouTube video complaining that this doesn't work and urging others not to do it. Let's take a look at one of the problems you're going to face if you just take wood chips and throw them right onto bare soil. This is my back patio. I had wood chips all the way to the end of this table. Looked really nice, but look at it now. We have grasses growing through there, weeds. This is what your garden would look like if you just take wood chips and throw them right on the soil. And one of the things we expect from wood chips is to be a great weed barrier. But I can tell you from experience, it's really not. And you know what else really likes the fertility that the wood chips bring? Weeds. As we continue to cover this topic, I want to remind everyone that later in this video, I'm going to talk about something even more important, so make sure you stay tuned. And also, to pause the video and take a second to subscribe if you're not already, and make sure you like the video, because when you like the video, your friends can see it. It really tickles the algorithm. I'd like to introduce you to your new best friend if you're gardening with wood chips with the Back to Eden method. This is cardboard, plain brown cardboard. Plain brown cardboard is the ultimate healthy weed barrier. Now there may be some of you that follow those clickbait science gardening pages that are going to say that cardboard is not good for your soil. And I'm not going to name drop the group that says this. I'm going to tell you right now, they're absolutely wrong. And I'm a huge fan of science, but I don't like science mixed with my gardening. It's naive to think that we can take a natural process and think as humans we can do it better than nature can. With that being said, put down cardboard before you put down your wood chips. I would suggest 2 layers thick because I came through my entire garden with 1 layer and I still got weeds, and that's why I'm coming back with another layer to try to reclaim some of these areas that the weeds grew. I found that it takes about 1 year for the cardboard to fully break down. I noticed that the worms really love the cardboard, and so did the fungi. They are 2 welcome friends in the garden. Before we go any further, let's take a second to talk about what kind of wood chips we're using here. These are Arborous wood chips. I get my wood chips from Chip Drop. It's a free wood chip delivery service where they work with local arborists to get wood chips to people like me who want them. I'm going to link my video on Chip Drop in case it's something that you can use in your area. There are some tips that are going to help you out with Chip Drop. But if you can't use that service, you can always just call your local arborist and tell them you want wood chips, and they'll be happy to give you wood chips because they got to pay to dump them other places. This pile's been here for several months. When you get Arborous wood chips, you're going to get all types of different sizes. You're going to get sticks, you're going to get leaves, all that stuff is good, especially the green matter. Since this has been here so long, we got a really good breakdown going on. This is what we're looking for. If you have the ability to get your wood chips and let them sit in a pile like this, I'd really recommend doing so they can break down in this pile. You can see over here, here's some chips that aren't in the pile. This is more what I'm looking for right now because most of the work I'm doing is just fixing some of my garden paths, so I actually want the bigger pieces. But in the end, we're looking for breakdown like this when the fungi come in here and help break this down. So whether it happens in a pile or in your garden, the breakdown is the key to success. So we got our cardboard down, we got our wood chips down, it's time to plant. But not necessarily. What if I told you that the Back to Eden method isn't just about wood chips? This is where most people get this method wrong because they think that Paul Gauci is growing his vegetables in a wood chip garden. This is why I put the L2 Survive channel in a description, because he's got some really great videos with Paul. And one of the videos, they go with Paul's truck to the composting facility to pick up compost. And at some point, wood chips were probably added into that compost. But after all the turning with professional equipment and all the other yard waste that got added to it, those wood chips turn into really good compost. And if you're using just wood chips, the problem with that is you're gonna get a fungally dominated soil. And our green annuals don't necessarily like the fungally dominated soil. They rather have the bacterial dominated soil. So wood chips on their own is kind of unnatural. Just think of it like this. When you have the trees, they shed their leaves in the fall. Trees die and also coat the soil. All that stuff feeds a fungally dominated soil, which is really good for woody perennials like trees. Then think about the prairies, sun-loving plants, lots of greens, annuals, biennials. It's a whole different group of matter that falls on the soil to rot and feed the next generation. That gives you bacterial dominated soil. So that's why wood chips aren't the best bet when it comes to vegetables. And that's where the compost kicks in. Here's my annual beds here. I have the compost in here. I throw organic matter on top of the soil to let the decomposers take care of it. And my paths are made of wood chips. I grow most of my annuals in this area over here. But towards the back, I do have a few smaller beds I set up, but for the most part, this whole entire area here is coated with wood chips. When it comes to stuff like raspberries, blueberries, all these strawberries over here, elderberries, gooseberries, we got fruit trees, grapevines, comfrey. These woody perennials really benefit from the wood chip top coat. I have planted some annuals in the wood chips in this area, and I had mixed results with it. Some of them did really good and others not so much. But it really goes back to creating natural environments. The annuals really don't want the wood chips. They want that soil with leafy green decomposition. So from my experience, I definitely recommend the wood chips for your woody perennials. But when it comes to your vegetables, I'd say use the wood chips to make some pathways. And where you're going to plant your annuals, I'd recommend using some compost or setting up areas like I do using rotten matter. I want to touch on one more thing with Back to Eden gardening, and that is fertilizing. And in Paul's garden, he does it a little different than most. One of my favorite parts of Back to Eden is how he uses the chickens to increase fertility in his soil. And he does so by composting with chickens. The chickens have this fantastic ability to make really good compost, and they enjoy themselves while doing it. Just take a look at some of this stuff. This is all leaves, grass, pretty much anything you throw in your compost, and some things you wouldn't, can all go in here with the chickens, and they will turn it into really fertile compost that can fertilize your garden. Paul talks about how he throws everything in here, even stuff you're not supposed to give the chickens, whether it's nightshades, avocado pits, onions, doesn't matter. So if you can find those videos, they're pretty cool. I definitely recommend checking those out because he's got a really good chicken composting system. And if you don't have chickens, just make your own compost when you can. It's a little more work than the chickens, but it's still good. So to recap, Back to Eden method, fantastic. Wood chips like this, great for your woody perennials. When these are composted, great for your annuals. Not the best weed barrier, so make sure you add cardboard before you put your wood chips down. We got a long winter ahead, so make sure you check out that L2 Survive channel so you can watch all the videos that feature Paul Gauci, and I promise you are going to learn a lot. And if you implement his ideas, you're on your way to a lot easier gardening method. Thanks for watching.